What drives a rational person to buy a wrecked Italian supercar worth hundreds of thousands of dollars just to challenge the clock and rebuild it in 24 hours? That is precisely what happened when Mat Armstrong decided to take on one of the boldest mechanical challenges of his career. The target this time wasn't just any sports car, it was a roaring Italian beast hiding a naturally aspirated 12-cylinder engine under its hood, pumping out a massive 800 horsepower. A 2019 Ferrari 812 Superfast, an engineering masterpiece featuring DCT transmission technology derived straight from Formula One, delivering torque capable of launching you from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. At first glance, when the car arrived on the flatbed trailer, the rear end looked completely untouched, almost like it had just rolled out of the showroom. The deep black paint and bright yellow interior stitching suggested this was an absolute bargain. But the magic didn't last long. As soon as the team began unloading this Italian icon, the brutal secrets of its crash started leaking out. Yet the real tragedy wasn't the smashed bumper, but what was lurking beneath the hood. Since the car had suffered a violent impact, firing up the engine without a thorough inspection was out of the question. Manually putting the dual-clutch transmission into neutral was the first hurdle, forcing Mat to strip down the trunk liner and access the gearbox release mechanism directly. But opening the hood revealed a terrifying sight that stopped everyone in their tracks. Heavy oil residue was covering the air intakes and seeping all the way into the filters. Even more alarming was pulling the dipstick. The oil was anything but normal. It had mixed with the engine coolant, turning into a thick, milky emulsion resembling coffee. The initial theory suggested the car had either flipped upside down during the accident or been submerged in water. Removing the intake plenums revealed visible rust on the throttle bodies, a massive red flag in high-performance engines, because starting an 800 horsepower engine in this condition could obliterate the pistons and cylinders in a fraction of a second. And what happened next made everyone doubt if this Ferrari could even be saved. To avoid catastrophic engine failure, checking the combustion chambers for trapped liquids was paramount. Every coil pack and spark plug was pulled out, and a borescope camera was routed into each cylinder. Luckily, the cylinder walls were clean, with no signs of rust or fluid buildup inside. Hope was restored, leading to a bold move, topping up a small amount of fresh oil to attempt a brief engine start just to hear it run. Incredibly, the Italian beast roared to life on the first try with a terrifying rumble. But the celebration lasted only seconds. Suddenly, the milky oil-water mixture started violently spewing out of the engine breather and reservoir. The primary suspect in these cases is usually a blown head gasket, but the behavior here was bizarre. Pressure was forcing the oil out rather than the coolant, meaning the system was either grossly overfilled or suffering from a complete cooling line blockage. But the next discovery under the lift flipped the entire narrative. Lifting the car and pulling off the underbody splash shields exposed deeper structural issues. The oil cooler lines were severely bent and pinched shut, completely blocking fluid flow back to the dry sump tank. On top of that, the oil filter was clogged with sludge from coolant contamination. The only way to rescue this complex V12 was a thorough engine flush, filling it with fresh oil, running it briefly, draining it, and repeating the cycle. After straightening the damaged cooler lines and servicing the system, fresh oil was poured in. On the second start, the external leaks stopped and the engine idle smoothed out. However, draining the oil again revealed it was still heavily contaminated, meaning this flush process was going to take massive amounts of oil, time, and patience. And that's when the clock started ticking down aggressively on the challenge. The next day kicked off the complete teardown of the front end and bodywork. The hood, headlights, and remaining bumper components were stripped away, exposing deep damage to the internal mounting brackets that required precision welding. The front grille was totally destroyed, sitting right in front of the engine control units, which are uniquely placed in the nose to utilize direct airflow for cooling. The crushed radiator and AC condenser were removed, and the refrigerant lines were safely discharged. The biggest blow came from examining the aluminum space frame chassis. The side impact had pushed the front chassis rails slightly inward. Rectifying this required pulling off the doors, the carbon fiber side skirts, and gutting the entire interior to reach the airbag control module. But working inside the cabin brought an unexpected nightmare. Replacing the airbags that deployed during the crash meant the entire dashboard had to come out. It's a tedious procedure requiring the removal of hundreds of bolts and delicate wiring harnesses without damaging any vital electronics. The seats, center console, and steering wheel were pulled out, allowing the dashboard, seat belts, and airbag modules to be sent out for professional rebuilding and reprogramming. Meanwhile, Bob, the legendary fabrication and welding expert, arrived to wage war on the engine bay and frame. Armed with angle grinders and heavy-duty frame gear, Bob sliced away the crumpled aluminum front rails, taking precise measurements to fabricate a brand-new aluminum crash structure. At the same time, Mat spent every minute removing the remaining seatbelt retractors and organizing the electronics. And what Bob did next was pure engineering artistry. Bob custom fabricated the replacement inner frame sections, welding them securely onto the front chassis mounts. Using alignment tools and drill fixtures, the crash bar and front core support were mocked up to ensure perfect geometry before final welding. Meanwhile, the refreshed interior components arrived, allowing new door airbags to be installed before shifting focus to the rear of the car. Although the trunk lid was intact, the rear diffuser was heavily scuffed and cracked. The taillights, badges, and license plate bracket were removed to prep the entire body for a total aesthetic transformation, but the color choice Mat went with surprised everyone. Instead of spending dozens of hours repainting the car, the team decided to completely wrap the vehicle in a premium vinyl film. The choice? A striking emerald green that gave the Ferrari an aggressive, menacing look compared to its original factory black. Wrapping started at the rear bumper, using heat guns to seamlessly stretch the vinyl around the complex curves of the Italian bodywork. Concurrently, the rebuilt dashboard and door panels were reinstalled, along with the new airbags, seat belts, and center console. Reassembly was painstaking, demanding absolute precision to reconnect every single wiring clip and avoid triggering dashboard fault codes. But an issue with the passenger door threatened to stall the momentum. Detailed inspection revealed the original passenger door was warped beyond repair, preventing it from sealing properly and forcing Mat to source a used replacement door. The replacement arrived stripped of its latch mechanisms, requiring the team to swap over all internal motors, speakers, and handles from the old unit. Meanwhile, the trunk lid, roof, and quarter panels were fully covered in the new green wrap. The rear diffuser received a complete carbon fiber overlay to hide the damage, while giving the rear end a wider, more aggressive stance. With the side wrapping wrapped up, Bob tackled the dented right rocker panel, and his solution was a masterclass in metalworking. Bob cut a discrete access hole inside the rocker to heat the metal and hammer out the dent from the inside out. Once straightened, the panel was prepped with primer, body filler, sanded smooth, and finished with a protective coat of black paint. Up front, the new radiator, AC condenser, and fresh oil cooler lines were mounted into place. The plastic inner arches, carbon fiber side steps, and front fenders were aligned and bolted down. Brand new headlights sourced at a great price were secured into position, bringing the front end together. But the final test for the V12 engine was far from over. With the bodywork coming together, the engine was filled with fresh oil for a third time, and the cooling system was pressure tested. The test uncovered a small leak in one of the radiator hoses, which was immediately replaced. After running a total of 6 complete oil flushes, the drained oil finally came out crystal clear with zero trace of moisture, officially saving the V12 from an early grave. To top off this masterpiece, the stock exhaust was deleted in favor of a full Valvetronic performance exhaust system, engineered to unleash the high-pitched F1-style scream of the naturally aspirated engine. Finally, a set of custom gold alloy wheels was bolted on, creating a stunning contrast against the emerald green wrap. Even though the project blew past the 24-hour mark to finish at 55 hours of intense labor, the result was the breathtaking rebirth of one of Ferrari's greatest V12 machines.